Live.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Facebook Live, 9 p.m., where we talk travel and we discuss just how wonderful it used to be. I'm only kidding. Well, I'm not entirely kidding, but we like to play one of our shows, Places to Love, and give you kind of behind the scenes look at the episode. As the episode is playing, we give you an update on the people who we featured, especially the small businesses and the local businesses that we are just a cornerstone of this series. And this time we won't have a special guest, and we like to do that every week. We won't, because I have to be on live at HSN at 1 a.m. So we're going to make this a little shorter than usual, maybe just within an hour rather than an hour and a half. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to get drunk.
She don't mess.
And by that, I'm not joking. I'm kidding, but it doesn't take much. It really doesn't. But we're glad that you are here. Our weekly show is Texas Hill Country. If you know me, you know that I am part Texan. I was born in Dallas, only lived there for 1 year, the first year of my life, but that's one of your most important years as a human being, isn't it? And so I still consider myself, to this day, a little yellow rose. And my mom, who grew up in Pennsylvania as a northerner, absolutely loved living in Texas. Still to this day, when I talk to her about it, she goes, "Oh, the people were so lovely, and we took you on a stroller. We were dirt poor. My parents were so poor. My dad, I think, had just come back from the Vietnam War, and they lived in Dallas. My dad was a salesman for fiberglass, Owens Corning fiberglass."
You got there.
Oh my God. And it's empty, and because there's nothing in Owens Corning fiberglass. And she always tells the story of how she desperately wanted to go to Neiman Marcus, which is located downtown in Dallas. It's the flagship. And so she took me in the stroller, and she'll never forget, she got up to the escalator and she didn't know what to do, and all of a sudden she said, this handsome, tall Texas gentleman in a cowboy hat said, "Excuse me, miss, may I help you and this little lady?" And the cowboy picked me up, and he looked me right in the eyes, and I looked back and smiled. And why I didn't marry a nice Texas farmer, I don't know.
Makes no sense to me.
I know, I got stuck with this urban guy.
I'd be okay with it.
I'm kidding, but we have, my parents have fond memories of living in Texas, and it's a great state, great people, just the salt of the earth, good, friendly people. And I watched this episode earlier today, just kind of, take me back. It's been a few years, and I got to tell you, I was smiling ear to ear. So you're really in for a treat, because the people are just so genuine. It's exactly what we need during this time. And so I'm glad that we're showing Texas Hill Country. It's also one of our first episodes. It was the third episode we shot. And so things that were implemented in Texas Hill Country that I'll talk a little bit about when we get to those points, we still try to continue today. And there's one moment in the show where, wow, an epiphany. And it happens kind of at the beginning, where we knew where we wanted to go with the series and how we wanted it to tell a different travel story, in a more interesting and more compelling way than we had done in the past. I do have a little news from our last week. If you joined us last week, where we had our Vancouver episode, we were talking to Sarah and Mary, I believe, the sisters, the
Schwaggers.
The Schwaggers, and they have the broom company where you can hire. And now that we're home, I can leave the shot,
because we keep this not surprisingly at our place in the Hudson Valley, where it fits very well
with our beautiful wide, board
reclaimed
floors.
Pine floors.
Yeah, exactly. So this is my broom from them, and beautiful handle. And so here's a funny story. When we were all done with that Facebook Live, the girls were still on. Ladies were still on. So we were talking to them. And they said, funny story, because I talked about being, bewitched. My name is Samantha, wiggle the nose. Everyone asked me when I was growing up. They said, wait for this. They said, yeah, our father actually built the broom for Nicole Kidman in her version of Bewitched. We were like,
yeah.
Why are we hearing this now? So we had a laugh about that. I'm like, you should have. It's like, that's awesome. So yeah, their father, who also passed down the art of broom making to them, was the artisan behind Nicole Kidman's broom when she did the remake of Bewitched. So we thought that
cool.
was that was pretty awesome, and just pure humbleness where they're like, oh yeah, whatever. So is there any other good news? Who do we have today? Is everyone joining us?
Yeah, I got people from all over the place. I have to say, I don't have it handy, but I think we broke a record as far as, we post, either in the morning or on Tuesday, just the announcement of this Facebook Live. Hey, join me Wednesday night. A little blurb about the destination and stuff. And people love to wade in and make comments. And then I think when we go live, it creates a separate post on Facebook, if that makes sense. But that original post on Facebook had like 800 likes without even starting the show.
Which one?
The one just announcing this episode.
The Texas Hill Country?
Like that's how popular and how people love Texas Hill Country, that there were so many people commenting and liking without even us talking yet or anything happening. Just the idea of Texas Hill Country got people very excited.
I think that you just hit the nail on the head. The idea of Texas Hill Country. It first of all, it sounds great, Texas Hill Country, and it really is a state of mind. It really is this sort of it's almost a fantasy when you arrive. I had been there in my great hotel days. Remember those days? And we did the Hyatt Texas Hill Country.
I think it's the Hyatt Hill Country, yeah.
Hyatt Hill Country. And it was awesome.
Just outside of San Antonio.
Yeah, and I just loved it. And we met there the best PR representative we have ever worked with. She was the head of PR at the hotel, Melody.
Yep.
And she helped us a little with this episode as well. But we had been in touch, even though we had done the Hill Country. And because she worked for Hyatt, this is what... So we meet her... oh my gosh, like 4 years after our wedding, maybe 2 years after our wedding.
It was at least 2 years.
At least 2 years.
Yeah.
So Melody,
We had dinner
and
with her.
I forget how she pronounces her last name. It's like Goikin, or I'm so sorry, Melody, if you're watching. But so we meet in downtown in Lower Manhattan, and she's got a box. And she wanted to give us a gift for being married, and it was a few years.
Because we hadn't seen her since
we hadn't seen her.
But it had been years since we were married.
And in that box, and this is like the best gift, most thoughtful gift we've ever gotten, she found out who the baker of our wedding cake was. And she had a small single-tier version of that cake made and gave it to us at the restaurant.
As like, just at the end of the night, oh, by the way, I got something for you. Like, oh, that's nice, what?
Yeah.
Here's a fresh version of your wedding cake by the same people.
We were speechless. It was. I mean, and she's so good. And when we worked with her with great hotels, she was phenomenal, and she's just remained in our lives, here and there since. Yeah. And wow. And she helped me with a little bit with this episode of just kind of getting some of the things together. But just people who will go to great lengths. To be your friend, to help you out. Those are the people who exist in Hill Country.
The one thing is that we were married at a Hyatt in Maryland. So she reached out to the
That's
Hyatt.
true.
She worked for Hyatt in Texas. And so she reached out to the Maryland Hyatt people to get that
When you're in
info.
PR, you know people. But it's a gift I wouldn't have ever thought of. And so that's just a good tip. Like, if you want a good gift for someone, just like, I don't know, dig around. I don't, but it's just, it was really...
We both were just like...
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like,
was,
really, really amazing. Cake sounds amazing. What was great about the cake, our wedding cake, it was a chocolate wedding cake with chocolate icing. And because we got married in October, I had them hand dip little sepal pears and little tiny lady apples and cascade them on the side. And so I don't know if I'm the only, I mean, before, maybe now, but before we got married in 2006?
Yeah.
Oh, 2006?
Nice.
And and
no confidence hesitation.
2006. It's either 8 or 6, I forget.
Maybe.
So we had a chocolate cake with chocolate icing. So I was really, really proud of that.
I don't want to interrupt, but I'm wearing a shirt.
Yes.
That you brought back from this. So this one's kind of tough for me because I didn't go to scout this episode and I wasn't there when it was filmed. So I have not been to Hill Country and it bothers me. I want to go there someday.
Oh, we have to go.
But you brought back a shirt from this lovely vineyard. And that's what we're drinking tonight.
That is what we're drinking tonight.
Tempranillo. It's going to be featured in the episode. And we've had this bottle for 3 years now, waiting for a special moment to drink it, and this is the moment.
Yeah, so Kevin was looking for this bottle. Carl and Francis, owners of Haunted Talk, if you're watching. And so he's going through our wine and he can't find it. And the first thing he does, as a true husband, we've been married for how many years? 16?
2006.
I wasn't told there was going to be math. Sorry. Okay, 12 years. All of a sudden, Kevin just goes, "Did you drink it?" In a really accusatory, talk about no confidence. You had no confidence in me. I'm like, no, I haven't drank it, but I'm going to now.
Yeah, me too.
And this is a beautiful Tempranillo. Cheers. Let's give it a little more.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Salud. Oh, wow.
That's nice.
Thank you.
Very nice.
That's perfect. Oh, it's so bright.
Transported
Yeah.
to Spain via hill country.
Yeah, and we'll learn a lot more about this winery coming up, and you'll just see what a magical, special place it is. And we have an update on the wine garden as well.
We do?
Yeah, it's a surprise.
Oh,
Yep.
Can't wait.
Surprise. Time to pour the wine. I think we were I was very excited that it wasn't going to be another cocktail tonight because, truth be told, I can't handle my booze. I just can't. I'm not a boozer. I used to drink dirty martinis like 20 years ago because I could, and now I'm old. I just, nice glass of wine, that's all I need. So it was nice that it was just something simple. And grew up in Austin and love the hill country. Wow, 2 lucky places to just go to all the time. We love the entire area. San Antonio, I love. Austin, I love.
And it sits between Austin, San Antonio, and Houston.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's right in the middle of all three. Because you guys drove from Houston.
Oh,
there.
It was a long drive.
Well, but I mean, still, it's like.
I mean, it is Texas. What isn't a long drive?
Weekend, kind of travel.
Exactly.
From 3 pretty major and awesome cities.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of that.
Yeah, and I mean, there were so many things we didn't do because there was just so much to do there, and beauty and state parks with amazing swimming holes, and of course tubing is huge. We were there before the tubing started.
It was in April, I think.
Yeah, so we would be doing a lot of butt scraping. We were seeing if we could do it, but it just
it wasn't that hot either, right?
No, well, that's never stopped us from showing things. If it's not, you can always fake temperatures. You really can. Believe me, there are times when I'm absolutely freezing. And as long as it's sunny out, we can fake it. But if there's no water, or if it's low, because I think they release the water, and then we can't do it. But tubing is huge.
So Rob Taylor just had a.
Rob Taylor.
He corrected it. It's Autumn Watch.
Please tell me you are both doing
Autumn Watch.
Sitting watch this year. Kevin needs to be in on that. He does. That's Autumn Watch.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. That was a BBC production. I love doing that, but they left. The
one-off special.
It was a one-off special on PBS. Yeah, but now Rob is fantastic. He is actually a phenomenal traveler with his family. 2 Travel Dads is his handle.
This
website.
was his previous comment. Just so
God.
you know, before you say
You're
nice things
getting-
about Rob, just I wanted you to see that.
It's so true. Rob and I have a very funny relationship online. We like to pick on each other. I think he drinks more wine than I do. But Rob is incredible. He and his partner Chris, his husband Chris, they went cross-country with their 2 kids from Seattle to Florida during the pandemic. They had to. They moved, and so they actually got an RV and went across. I mean, they are true travelers, and I respect the heck out of them because a lot of times there's a lot of influencers out there, but they don't do it with kids. And that changes everything. So follow them. They're fantastic.
I got a fun comment.
Mm-hmm. Hello from... Oh!
That's awesome. Natalie Boutran.
Yeah. Do you know her?
No.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Kevin's a huge Trinidad fan. He went to Carnival.
2005. Went around.
I
was with Hearts, I think. One of the bands. The largest carnival in the world is in Rio de Janeiro. Everyone knows that. But the second largest is in Port of Spain, Trinidad.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun.
Yeah. That is great. That's great.
We were playing soca music for about a year after that.
It was the best. It was great music. And then you've gone to the one in Brooklyn, Flatbush Avenue, a few times because it's a lot of fun.
Actually, that's this weekend. I guess they're probably not having it. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. All right. All right. So.
I live in Maryland. We've got some great people here.
Oh, that's a call out. Our
Oh, yeah.
Daniel Quintero, who was gone last week because he had a date for the first time in like 6 months, at least out of the house. He's calling out David Dean, our editor, for no comments.
David Dean, very, very perceptive. David Dean, our editor, actually emailed us today. He might miss the first half because he is out on a nice dinner date with my director, Sylvia Kaminer, as well as Joan McCord, who's my very first producer.
That's tonight?
Yeah, they're going out tonight.
Wow.
Yeah, so two people who are being the world to me, they're all together. And I'm glad that he is out having a nice time. Two wonderful, wonderful women who love him dearly.
That's great.
Yeah, Joan McCord is the executive producer at Pine Ridge Film and Television, who did the bulk of all my series at the Travel Channel, and we've had some good times together, Joan and I. She still owes me a case of Johnny Walker for all the crap we've been through. That's what we always say. It's a joke anyway.
Wow, people from all over. Someone asked if you did a carnival show. Not yet.
A carnival? Oh, yeah,
for Trinidad.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to get started?
Yeah, let's get started.
All right. Okay. So let's get.
And this is the first episode we ever shot for Places to Love, anyway.
This episode?
Texas Hill Country? Yeah, because we went. Remember, it was
Brooklyn
Houston, and then we left Houston and went to.
This is the first trip. Houston was the first one we shot for the.
Sure.
Yeah. All right.
There are destinations that are less a place and more a state of mind, where a fragrant carpet of glorious color spreads out and reminds us to stop being bullied by time. It's a place of old pioneers and new pioneers who cherish the traditions but know their own independence is key. This is where hard work never skips a generation and where the beauty of the land soothes the soul.
This isn't just hill country, this is Texas hill country.
I'm Samantha Brown, and I've traveled all over this world. And I'm always looking to find the destinations, the experiences, and most importantly, the people who make us feel like we're really a part of a place. That's why I have a love of travel and why these are my places to love. Samantha Brown's Places to Love is made possible by
Europe is a treasure trove of fascinating history, rich culture, and renowned cities.
Europe truly is a treasure trove
River
of fascinating history. And one thing that I always talk about is how travel, even planning travel, puts you in the same happy mood and is a great mental boost since we can't go there. But if you would like to start planning travel, I am actually hosting an AMA Waterways cruise in 2021, July 29th. It's a seven night, 8-day cruise through Bordeaux. And so a lot of wonderful wine, a lot of great architecture, small little towns, bike rides, and of course AMA Waterways supports our show, and we just love them. And I love the whole experience with them, because even though you are on this small boat with a small amount of people, you are always in touch with the landscape. You always have the ability to be with the locals and support local economies, and they actually bring local musicians and local artisans on every stop. So where like a cruise ship, there's sort of a separation between like your experience and actually the economies of the places that you're going to. Here there's just a direct connection with the people. They employ the people, they bring on their food, everything, or you just go out into the restaurants and have their food, their guides. It's all very personal. It's just sort of how you want to travel. So I'm really excited that I'm doing this. This was the trip that was postponed, of course, because it was going to happen this August. So I am already looking forward to this one, and have no doubt that we will be doing it. It's like, let's go.
Cruises offers a way to see all this wonder in person. You can discover more at amawaterways.com.
away
we have a few
the
RVers
smell of
on right
fresh
now,
pine.
and I think their summer's probably coming to the end.
It's a
end. I
place
hope they
where
had a
giants
great
still live.
visit. Go RVing is a great organization, and
Away is where the
we had
farther
such a
down
great
the
time.
road you
We'd
go.
like to do
Yeah.
it again.
Definitely.
The closer
where would
you
we
get
want
to the
go
ones
in
you
an
love.
RV?
Alaska be awesome.
Definitely Alaska.
Find your
Definitely
way.
Alaska.
Somewhere out west.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
The East Coast doesn't seem as
GoRVing.com.
good for that.
I just think there's just like, I think we met people who did it through New York City. I'm like, guys, you're crazy. Okay, so here we go. Start the
Texas
show.
Hill Country's got a lot going for it. It is this beautiful, huge region of Central and South Texas, bookended by two excellent cities, Austin and San Antonio. So this has always been a really popular weekend getaway, for the city folk. But I am here to see the wildflowers of Texas Hill Country. I mean, this to me is bucket list. Because in the same way you go to Japan to see the cherry blossoms, and the same way I wanted to see the tulips in Amsterdam, I am here, and I have timed it, hopefully so, that I will see fields of bluebonnets. That's the Texas state flower. The moment I see like more than 5 bluebonnets together in a field, I'm like pulling this.
We spent a lot of time trying to find the right vehicle for this, and it was perfect.
It was perfect, exactly. There was like a handoff, right?
Yeah,
We were all nervous.
yeah.
And this is the only one of the only episodes we've ever done, or road trip, where we really felt like the car was that important, right? All the other ones, it's like whatever we have, the rental company gave us, we can deal with, but we needed a truck.
These one-room schools were built by the German immigrants who settled this area in the mid to late 1800s and believed strongly in public education for their children. This is the Rheingold School. It was built in 1900, but this isn't the first Rheingold School. That is the first Rheingold School, built in 1873. Now, a cool thing to know about these schools is that a lot of them keep the door unlocked, so you can walk right in and enjoy the inside. Oh, this is precious. Grades 1 through 8 were taught here, of course, just one teacher, and every child had to bring their own log to school so they could heat the school in the wood stove. But these schools remain a real vital part of the community here. As you can see, it's filled with tables, and that's because the community gathers here to play dominoes, they have meals together, weddings are held here. So even though this is a historic building, it's still very much a part of the present here in Texas Hill Country. And the most endearing story that was told to me about what happened in these schools when they were really used as schools was that the children were always taught English, but they were disciplined in German. Sideways.
I was disciplined in German by my mom, Elsie May.
Now there are bluebonnet rules to follow. No trespassing on private property, especially when you see signs with bullet holes.
Gotta put me in a field of bluebonnets. Here we go.
And be kind to the flowers. Don't sit or walk on them. Find the gaps to walk through and then take your picture. Say a little thanks to these gifts and move on.
In Texas, this is what it's all about. Everybody gathers to the bluebonnets. There are generations that have pictures of their pets, their children, their grandma.
Every Texas child is plugged down at a field.
So we're going to get to John in a second. I'm going to have you rewind because as we're kind of figuring out, this is our first season, we're figuring out a lot as we're editing the show, how it's going to look, what's it going to be. And I talked about this before, but this is where I saw this happen really powerfully. And this is the magic of David Dean, who hopefully is having a lovely dinner right now with Joan and Sylvia. But as I felt like he is the one who all of a sudden we hear John's voice, right? So traditionally in a travel show, what would happen next is like, after I frolicked in a field of bluebonnets, I went to Wildflower Farm and Wild Seed Farm, where I met up with John. And so it would be this sort of VO that would take us to the next. And what I always hated about that in all of my 20 years of hosting shows is I always felt that kind of took you out of just sort of being immersed in the story. And it set up this idea that you're on this itinerary. if, you know, A happens, then B happens, and after B happens, C happens. And that's sort of like how I feel like travel logs and travel shows that are like that become a little dated. And so I just wanted to refresh the idea of how we consume the content of travel, and the fact that we forget that we're actually watching a travel show. We are just totally immersed in meeting the people of this place, and it's only after this whole show is over that you realize you could do the exact same thing. Because again, like I've said before, in these shows, I don't have experiences that you yourself can't have. And that's really important to me. So I'm gonna just zoom it back and just kind of, and again, it's just this little thing, but it's literally what changed the series for me. And now we absolutely plan for this. We know where scenes are when we shoot them, what order they're going to be. We don't shoot them in order, but we know the order they're going to be. And so when we're in a scene and we're shooting it, we know that we're going to go to this scene, so maybe we could have a person say something that leads me to it. But this is when John's voice, when you hear John's voice, it's so much more powerful than hearing me say, after I went on a nice road, I went to where you can see bluebonnets year round, or blah, 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 whatever that is.
Bluebonnets.
Okay, so
Here we go.
And be kind to the flowers. Don't sit or walk on them. Find the gaps to walk through and then take your picture. Say a little thanks to these gifts and move on.
In Texas, this is what it's all about. Everybody gathers to the bluebonnets. There are generations that have pictures of their pets, their children, their grandma.
Every Texas child is plugged down at a field of bluebonnets.
If you
right?
don't have a picture of a Texas bluebonnet around your children in the springtime, you may not be a Texan. I'm John Thomas, and I'm a fourth-generation Texas farmer.
John is founder and president of Wild Seed Farms. It's the largest working wildflower farm in the United States, with over 200 acres of cultivated fields. Yep, those are all wildflowers.
I had no idea, like, people like you existed. I didn't know that people grew wildflowers. I thought that wildflowers were wild and on the streets, and you either saw them or you didn't. But here, you get to have a little bit more of consistency. You can count on them here.
We knew we were going to have a good crop probably in December.
And when you say crop, you're not going for the flowers, you're going for the seeds.
Oh yeah. As a rule of thumb, if we can harvest
Oh, look at
30
that.
to 40%
So
of the
gorgeous.
total
Amazing.
seed that's out here,
And we worked really
We're
hard to
doing
be
well.
there during the
Can
season.
I ask you a dumb question? What do you collect these seeds with? What type of machinery? Because these are delicate flowers with delicate pods, and I see big, heavy farming equipment. Is it just what usually collects?
well, you have to understand, this plant is a true annual. This plant is going to completely die in about a month. These will be brown. So you're really not running over delicate plants.
Oh, okay.
We're running over brown seed pods or gathering brown seed pods in the combine.
So this has to be one of the most glorious sights I've ever seen. Your heart swells. It really does. And it feels like a beating heart. It's just beautiful. So
This is what people are after. They want some dynamite color.
are poppies native to Texas? Is
No,
that-
no, this is a red corn poppy. And this is the poppy to commemorate the war dead and our veterans on Veterans Day. You know, the poppies that you put on your lapel for the remembrance.
So there's no coincidence that you put this right on the highway where everyone passes.
It's a pretty nice sign, isn't it?
It's the color of brake lights. which
Yeah,
is what
that's
happened,
exactly right. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, well, why do you always plant your poppies next to the road? And I said, well, it fills my parking lot up. That's what it does.
Can you stop right there?
Wild Seed Farm.
So all of us, and when I say us, I mean my crew, we fell in love with John's voice. Doesn't he have the best voice? I just want to bottle that voice and have it tell me like motivational, like everything's going to be okay sayings like, be kind whenever possible, and it's always possible, right? I mean, whether it's the Dalai Lama or like Confucius, I just feel like John needs to be a voiceover artist, just giving us because he just has that voice of wisdom and kindness. And I will tell you that when we were doing what we call the authentic voice, where he's in that field and he's talking directly to us, he's talking to the camera, I'm asking the questions. I'm sort of prompting them to speak. And I'm behind the camera. And I'm kind of getting my, my courage up of things I should ask people. And this is my third episode where I'm really now being more of a director and asking them. And I remember asking John, what do you love most about, how would you describe farming? And he'd just be like, it's hard work. Okay, John, tell us, what is, what are some of the things you love about what you do? Getting to meet the people. And I'm like, can you just elaborate on some of that and just kind of talk? And I realized, and what I love about John Thomas is that, no, he's a Texas farmer. And one thing I had a very hard time, and I just dropped it, is having him kind of really own what he does and really hey, he has this amazing farm where he does this. He's worked his entire life for this. Hey, I do this and I get up at 4 a.m. and I make sure, and he just is not that person. And talking to John, I learned a very valuable lesson in talking with people when I do these authentic voices is that there are people who are just humble and they don't see themselves as to me, I think I was asking him to go outside of his comfort zone of being sort of egotistical, and that is not what I would do, but it was not in himself to brag, right? I guess that's the right word. He's not going to brag. He's very straightforward about what he does, and there's nothing flowery.
Nice.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
I did not mean to do that. But I learned a lot from talking to John, because that's when I realized I really needed to make sure that I was understanding where people were in terms of how they describe themselves, who they were as people, how they, and just let that happen. And I didn't want to push it. And you'll see him, he comes back at the end of the show and he has these little jewels. And so thank you, John. I learned a lot from you, but I learned that people are humble, especially in Texas. They do not brag about what they do. Well, you look at our Brooklyn episode and it's like, what? Forget about it. I did this. No one was doing what I was doing. And they really own, and I'm not putting that down. It's just like they are there. It's like they worked hard. Someone from Texas works just as hard, but they're totally humble about it. Yeah. So I learned a valuable lesson that I had to understand sort of the personality of people when I ask them these questions.
Yeah, their energy.
Their energy. Yeah. They're what they're about.
Farms attracts more than 350,000 visitors a year. Some leave with seeds, some with live plants, but they all leave with a newfound respect for these beautiful wildflowers.
We say Texas puts on the largest flower show on earth, and you've seen that. I mean, you're driving miles and miles and miles and seeing big fields of flowers. We just happen to have it in one spot.
Wild Seed is close to one of the prettiest towns in Texas Hill Country, Fredericksburg. There's a rural charm to many of its historic buildings, and it's a very popular tourist spot. And even though it was founded in 1846 by German immigrants, it's also home to the National Museum of the Pacific War, which makes more sense when you know that Fredericksburg was the home of Admiral Chester W. Nimitz, the commander of the Pacific Fleet in World War II. But an old town steeped in history can still have some new and innovative tricks.
So in the span of 5 years, you got married, opened up a restaurant, and had 3 kids.
In quick succession. It's just hard to believe.
Have you slept in
Nope.
5 years? No.
Meet Evelyn and John Washburn, the owners of Otto's German Bistro, one of the newer restaurants in town.
What did you want to accomplish by opening up a German bistro?
A lot of German food is misrepresented in the States, and so we just wanted to showcase the seasonality of it, the regionality of German cuisine as well, but still stay within the local Texas German tradition.
But we don't necessarily stay within the realm of Germany itself. With John's travels, he's really been able to see how Germanic culture isn't just, concentrated in one country. It's scattered all over Europe.
This is obviously bratwurst, right? But this isn't just basic bratwurst. There's a lot of work that goes into the meals here.
That's my favorite dish just because there's so many different elements. I mean, making the sausages, we grind all the meat in-house and just mix it with spices and we have a different recipe every time, and sometimes we'll do something a little bit out there, like we have a curry bratwurst that we do with some Indian spices as a little homage to Berlin street food.
How long does it take to make your sauerkraut?
Maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And
What 1 or 2 weeks?
yeah, the beauty of it is it's just cabbage and salt, and then in time you just weigh it down.
My mom, Elsie May, from Pennsylvania Dutch country, makes me, for the last 40 years, she has made me pork chops and sauerkraut on my birthday. My mom visits me and puts it in her suitcase to travel to make it for me so I can have it. So for me, sauerkraut equals a mom's love. Could Otto's be anywhere else, or did you really want it to be right here in Fredericksburg?
It has to be here. It fits really well in Fredericksburg with the Texas German tradition. I think it just really found its place, and it just worked out really well.
It's been really interesting to see Fredericksburg evolve and change, because when I was little, it was just kind of a quiet town. It's not like it is now, with Main Street always just being a buzz, and all the wineries are definitely a new addition. But at the end of the day, there's still that warmth, there's still that hospitality. It's really fun to see young people moving back into the community and kind of keeping some of the traditions alive, but also innovating and doing fun new things.
What's harder, growing grapes or kids?
It's gonna end up being on the day.
And these are just 2 of them. Where are your other 2? You don't know, do you?
Climbing trees in the back is what they're doing. That's a good thing about this place is that, we're never going to lose them. They can't really get out. They don't shoot out in the street anymore. I'm Carl Money, and I grow wine in the Texas Hill Country.
Carl and his wife Frances own and run Pontotoc Vineyards. Pontotoc is the town where the grapes are actually grown, about 60 miles north of their home here in Fredericksburg.
This is quite the little gem you have here.
I mean, there's people that come in here all the time that have lived in Fredericksburg their whole life. I had no idea this was back here. Because you have a 6-foot stone wall all the way around it, and you can't really see in it unless you get on your tippy toes or peek over. But that's what I wanted. We wanted a place that's very family-oriented and community-oriented, where you can take your family here, sit on communal tables, really learn about grape growing and winemaking, and learn about what we have to offer here.
Now, what are you known for? With all the wineries of Texas Hill Country, there's quite a few of them, and quite a few have tasting rooms right here on Main Street.
Sure.
What do people know Pontotoc for?
Yeah, it's very high quality Tempranillo wines, Tempranillo-based wines.
And the Tempranillo is the first grape you planted.
That's the only grape I've ever planted.
This is
it?
it?
Yeah. So
you do one varietal?
On my vineyard, I only plant Tempranillo, and I've only grown Tempranillo.
And why is that?
I think it's the best grape to grow in the hill country of Texas, in anywhere in Texas, but most importantly in the hill country of Texas. I grew up on a farm, and then my family were small business owners, and they still are. My parents, my dad's out here today. They still own their own businesses, and I want my children to be a part of that, where they know the value of money and have a strong work ethic, and they're getting it already, even at the young ages they are. My oldest daughter, Harper, runs the cash register for us.
How old is she?
She's 7.
7, okay.
And then her and Ella, the 5-year-old, they hang out front, and then on Saturdays anyways, and they get a quarter for anybody they bring in, because you got to bring them in through that wall,
You send your children out there to bring people in?
That's right. That's good. And they're very good at it.
Well, sure. People grab my hand and be like, well, yeah,
Why
sure,
not?
yeah.
Why not? No, they enjoy doing it, and it's fun. And people, I think, appreciate the family atmosphere here, and they feel comfortable.
So just enough can't be said about what an amazing environment this is, the Vine Garden. And Frances, Carl's wife, is also like a master baker. And so you buy these, and you can kind of see it there. Like, she does these baskets, so you get the wine, but then she does these baskets where she fills like local cheeses and meats, and she whips up her own cheese, and they all go in like these little jelly jars. And she does her own baked goods, so you'll see it right there. There's like a little basket with a little gingham napkin sticking out, so you buy those baskets, and so you have her baked goods as well as her cheese, but also some of the meats from the local so it's just this great vibe. And Carl was a JAG. Okay. So am I saying that right? So he's a lawyer. JAG is a judge advocate general in the military. And he taught law in Spain and through the military, so he has this great history of just European history. And I believe he spent time. Oh, I know, that's why. And this was before I went to Austria for our show. But he wanted this to be what you see there in the model of a Huyrigen.
Oh.
And it is. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly a Huyrigen in Huyriger. Oh God,
Close
am I
enough.
saying exactly? Yeah. It's Austrian. I'm sorry, Huyriger, or it's
like Austrian wine.
Yes, it's kind of like a beer garden, but with wine, and that's exactly what they have here.
And in Austria, they only sell the wine from that vineyard.
From that vineyard
similar,
here,
yeah.
So he has that European feel. I also love it because whenever you are in a wine country, whether it's Sonoma or Napa or even in New York, out in Long Island, going to wineries is a very adult pursuit. Kids are not welcomed a lot of places, right? And I love that he does make it a family fair. And again, that really speaks to Texas Hill Country. If you can't be there with your family, no one wants to be there at all. This is a family. This is a very family place. Also, I'd love to point out that that his winery, like his family, I think we've seen a picture of his dad with his child. He's fifth generation, Carl's fifth generation farmer.
Wow.
So the entire family was a part of planting the grapes, of tilling the soil, of planting them, of harvesting them. And so this is a family business, which I love. And with, of course, Places Love, we search for that nothing's a corporation, right? Everything is just hard work, love, sweat, blood, sweat, and tears. And when we were there shooting, he was telling me about how he was building out the Pontotoc winery, that what is on, we talked about just a few minutes before, where you saw the sandstone buildings. All the wine is grown in a little town called Pontotoc, about 60 miles from where we were, but it's considered, I guess, northern hill country.
Okay.
That's where they grow the wine, and he bought most of the buildings of this little town, like that was built in the mid 1800s. Like it was the post office, the grocery store, the gas station, the barbershop. They bought all the buildings. And he said, I wanted to turn it into a center of viticulture for Texas Hill Country, and it's open. It's now open.
Wow.
And so he has the winery. There's a tasting room right there, so you're amongst the grapes. They have a theater as well. And so congratulations. Both of those entities are open. Autos is also open for business. And we're just really proud that they're. I'm sure Wild Seed is. I didn't check because it's an outdoor farm. I'm sure you can walk around. There's no problems there. So, just again, great people.
So someone asked, and I think we said it earlier, but someone asked what time of year we were filming there, and it was
like the
April.
First 2 weeks of April, and like you said, it was, oh my gosh, it was a nail biter. Because we were literally basing this around the Texas bluebonnets.
Yeah.
And I was on Instagram following feeds of people who reported on this stuff. We were in constant contact with the people of Fredericksburg. What's going to happen? Are there going to be bluebonnets?
Yeah. Make them stop. Don't let them.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Please don't let there be a frost or something like that. And so you can only imagine how happy we are, because we're there for 4 days, and if they're not there, that's it. And we've got to kind of create another story.
We don't have the budget to kind of put them in CGI style.
Oh yeah, one day.
Awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, stop. I'm sorry. There's a lot to talk about here. So another thing I wanted to point out is that autos, as we've gone past autos, I've already lost that. Now why would that go back? Autos, a travel tip that I give people is that to really support local businesses, you don't have to go in sort of a far away from the tourist centers. You just pick that main thoroughfare, and just 1 or 2 streets over, that's where the locals are, right? So it's not off the beaten path, right? You don't have to go 20 to an hour outside of the district to get where the locals get there. Everyone's kind of centered around the same place. But simply, if you use the parallel streets of that main street, so there's Main Street, I think it is called Main Street of Fredericksburg, which is phenomenal. That is actually where Pontotoc Weingarten is. But also, if you go the side streets, you start to notice just where the locals are. And I actually scouted this episode, and I started walking along the side streets, and that's where I found the autos. And I was like, what is this? And I just stumbled in. I had the best dinner of my life. I was all alone, which I love to be. I love to sit at the bar and have an amazing deep meal. I had a great pork chop and a glass of wine, and it was perfect, and the environment was fantastic, and I just thought, wow, this is great. And the owners weren't around because they have 4 kids or something like that, 3 kids maybe, and so I talked to them later on the phone, and they just sounded lovely. But I was like, your place is fantastic, and if you'll just give me a second, because I wanted to find where I was. There's what else I found, and I thought we shot it, but it didn't make it because we just ran out of time. Oh, I had it. Can you pitch out the mail? I think I sent you the email. Oh, no. Anyway, on the side streets of Fredericksburg are what is known as Sunday houses, and they're a real jewel, a total jewel. And Sunday houses were built by the original 125 German immigrants. You got that? Works. Okay, yeah, exactly. Okay, there's one of them. Yeah, you got to get a chance. I sent these too late to Kevin, and he couldn't load them in, and it would crash the system. So you're seeing this little one room.
Maybe
just
if I do this, it'll focus on it.
Oh, maybe no. But you can see it's like a one room, but time capsules. They're one room time capsules, and so there are 125 German immigrants that came in like the 1850s to what is now known as Texas Hill Country, and they were given, I believe, 10 acres, about 60 minutes from Fredericksburg, but also a town lot. And so a lot of them, what they did is they pitched tents, and they eventually built these little one-room structures so they could come in to Fredericksburg on the weekends. They could shop, buy dresses, they could do business, socialize, which was so important at this time, as well as go to church. And so they built, and they would leave on Sunday. So they call them Sunday houses, and they're one room, but then there's a steep staircase that goes up to like a loft floor of the house, and that's where the entire family slept. So it's, again, just this time capsule of a style of life, of a way of life. You can rent some of these houses, which is pretty cool, but most of them are still owned by the descendants of the original immigrants. Can you believe that? Isn't that cool?
Wow.
And so we also did a shot of the Pioneer Museum. They have a Sunday house for you to walk around in and just kind of see what it was about. But it was really precious, and we talked about it, and we shot it, and we ran out of time. And I just thought showing people, talking and meeting John and Carl and Francis and Evelyn and really understanding their effort became more important than that little historical nod. So I'm glad I get to share it with you now. But Sunday houses, look it up. It's a great little piece of history.
It's a new day and time to hit the road again. I'm making my way south from Fredericksburg to the city of New Braunfels, just 32 miles from San Antonio. And even though it's a part of the same metropolitan area, that's not the way it feels.
New Braunfels was the very first German colony in Texas. German immigrants arrived here in 1845 while Texas was still an independent republic. From here, the Germans moved on to found Fredericksburg and beyond. So when people talk about Texas Hill Country as having a strong German identity, it all began right here.
I'm Terry Kokenauer. I'm a great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter of one of the founders of New Braunfels, Texas, Pierre Margolin.
Terry also owns and runs Ludwig and Margolin Leather, which has been here on this site for 80 years.
So this is one of those businesses that I am so delighted and surprised still exists. I mean, this is the exact opposite of mass-produced in another country.
That's true. We do a little bit of production here, but for the most part, everything we do is something that somebody wants to make, a family heirloom, a memory. We make wallets, we make gun holsters and scabbards.
What's a scabbard?
Oh, a scabbard is a holder for a knife. We're starting to hand make handbags because a lot of women want to pick their leathers, they want to pick the style. So we do primarily just custom things.
Chaps are one of those things that you always think, oh, I want to get a pair of chaps, and then you realize, I don't live in Texas.
They have such great practical purposes.
Absolutely.
I mean, but unless you're walking in the brush or riding a horse in the brush something, you might not need them. And then we've got the bandoleros for somebody who really wants to show off.
So you put this over your shoulder?
Yes. You wear it like a, there you go, like that.
Yeah.
And usually they'll have two, they'll do an X.
No one would mess with me.
No.
Yeah.
No.
So this is absolutely terrifying.
I know what these are. People generally have the wrong concept about bullwhips. They're not used on the cattle, they're used to make a noise to move the cattle.
Oh, okay.
So you crack it around over their head and it gets their attention and they move.
I have 4-year-old twins. I'm gonna buy 2 of them.
To tell you the truth, most of them are used these days in Western reenactment, and we sell a lot to Las Vegas. Our biggest distribution is in Las Vegas for Western shows.
Oh, really?
And people
awesome.
really like to crack a whip. It's just sort of a hobby thing.
This is Opie. He's 84, got a whip, and he knows how to use it.
You need to turn around and get real close by him.
You want me to turn around? No, I'm not keeping I'm gonna keep my eyes on your Opie.
You wouldn't reach that far away. Wouldn't reach so quick.
The German immigrants brought craftsmanship to the Texas Hill Country. The German music, the German food is all interwoven in the Texas Hill Country, along with the Hispanic culture. It makes New Braunfels a beautiful place to be, that the cultures respect each other and that we love our heritage so much.
If you were 2 doors down from the oldest bakery in Texas that had a 100-year-old strudel recipe, would you pass it by? Me neither.
What time do I have to be here to get fresh strudel from the oven?
Usually right when we open at 6:30.
What's the other time I have to be here to have strudel from the oven?
Naeglin's Bakery was founded in New Braunfels by Edward Naeglin Sr. in 1868. The Naeglins and their children lived in the upstairs apartment and delivered their goods in a horse-drawn carriage. Their descendants kept the bakery until 1980 when they sold it to the Granzine family. Ross Granzine was just a kid at the time. Now he and his brother run the place, and their kids are learning the business, which includes preserving the legacy of the Naeglin signature pastry.
How much strudel do you go through in a day here?
Oh, wow. Our strudel's about 2 foot long. So we probably, it's probably 60 to 70 a day, just the apple. We know that we have cherry and peach too.
Did it just start as apple and then you incorporated the other flavors?
Yeah, just people, hey, why don't you have cherry strudel or peach? I said, well, we can do that.
Some German somewhere is going, cherry strudel? What is that?
Right.
It's an apple strudel. Your strudel recipe is sort of guarded, a family secret, 100-year sort of amazing recipe that you cannot change.
No, it's too good to change.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been having that since forever. Hey, Parker, bring me a strudel up here.
Oh my gosh.
You think that'll work?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's strudel. And this is your son?
This is my son, Parker.
Hi, how are you doing? Parker. Hi, nice to meet you, Samantha. So you're a part of the family business?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you come here before school?
Yes.
Like what time?
4 o'clock.
You come here at 4 o'clock in the morning?
Yes, ma'am.
And then go to school?
Yep.
Oh, Dad. Really?
If you had a chance to eat strudel from a 100-year-old recipe, would you pass it up? Me, neither.
So what I love about Texas Hill Country is clearly, people put their kids to work, right? And I love that. Like, there is a strong work ethic there. We learned it from Carl and Francis. Like, their kids are out there and they get a quarter. Each kid gets a quarter for every person they bring in, but the family rallied and helped pick the grapes, and then of course you have the Naeglins, the kids getting up at 4 a.m. This is a teenager who probably could sleep till 10 if he wanted to, in terms of his growing stages. And so again, just really hardworking, good people.
Yeah.
Within the city of New Braunfels is a district called Green, and the likes of Willie Nelson, Lyle Lovett, and the Dixie Chicks have all ventured here because this is the site of the oldest dance hall in Texas.
In 1975, you and your partner, your now business partner, found Green Hall. And you were just out of college. You should have been thinking about your future, but you were
really interested in this past. Why?
You know, the country music scene was flourishing here. Redneck rock was a big deal. So it just all made sense. I'm Mary Jane Nally, and I'm the Queen of Green.
So Green Hall was built in 1868 at a time when this was a thriving little town. As what? As a dance hall?
It was built as a social center. Yes, it was built as a dance hall. It was the core of this 9,000-acre cotton community that Henry Green had started, and he had all these tenant farmers. He needed a place for them to come on the weekends and hang out. They'd go across and buy their stuff at the general store. They'd spend the night in the field, and they'd come and dance all night on Saturday night and wake up in the morning and have coffee off the stove in the back.
So one thing I'm really hoping happens tonight, Mary Jane, is that I get spun around the dance floor by a cowboy.
Okay, we can do that.
Yeah. Is it improper to ask a cowboy to dance?
It's not.
Okay, so if I see a nice-looking gentleman in a cowboy hat, I can say, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
You might want to check him out on the floor first to be sure he can dance.
Okay. And do you like to dance?
I love to dance.
You like to? All right, well, let's get in there.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go.
All right, everybody, welcome to Green Hall. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for the hot.
This is where we had the announcement, right? We didn't realize it.
The party started.
Like, oh.
In a Texas dance hall,
so whenever we do things like this, we they weren't gonna have they don't normally have live music on this day, right? And so we arranged for the band to come in, Hot Club of Cowtown to come in, and so we kind of want to control the whole. We kind of create a set. And everybody who comes in that door knows that they're going to be a part of a show. And so I think we got a call from someone going, they announced it on the radio.
Yeah.
And we were like, so they're like, we don't know how many people are going to show up.
I remember now what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have an alert. There was like a press release that went out, and all of the local TV stations picked it up.
And they all said, come on down and dance.
With Samantha Brown on her PBS show.
We're like, oh my God.
They had to hire security.
They had to hire security. Yeah. And I mean, everyone was lovely.
Yeah.
That's, luckily I'm not that kind of talent that people like break walls down, But we were nervous because I'm like, no, we weren't expecting it at all. Sometimes it's like, like 20 people show up and we can make sure that, it's Green Hall, so of course people are going to show up, but it wasn't live music, which is normally what they show, so we knew we had to get a group in that wanted to dance, and we made sure that like people were good dancers, so that I think we reached out to a few dance clubs, I think, or maybe they just heard about it and they said we'll be there, or I forget.
It was.
But this place was packed.
Yeah.
and we had to like
on
ask
the night
people
they were closed.
Yeah, on the night and ask people to not dance and come off the floor, so because it just got crazy. But I would say again, because it's Texas Hill Country, never a problem. Everyone was really great to work with. We had a great night.
I think the only people worried were us, because we're not from there, not knowing.
Yeah. Well, it's true. We're from New York.
Yeah. It's like, wait, they publicly announced that we're going to be filming a TV show, and now all these people are showing up. It's like, and we don't, it was.
Yeah, we're just a small crew. We don't have,
It was great.
All right, well, let's get in there.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go.
But that is a packed house.
All right, everybody, welcome to Green Hall. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're the Hot Club of Cowtown from Austin.
They were great. You've heard their music throughout, which is nice.
In a Texas dance hall, they spread cornmeal across the floor. Makes the twirling of the ladies a little easier on the cowboys, right? So I'm just going to do this right here. Is this good? Is this a good amount? Is that good? A little more? Oh, there we go. All right, good. Okay, and we're ready to dance. There's just such excitement about Green Hall because this wasn't my upbringing, and yet when you walk through the door, you feel like it is. You feel like I've been here. There's a comfortability about it. Why do you think it resonates with people so?
I just think it's a place where you can be yourself. You can let your hair down. You can have a cold beer. When you walk into this place, people talk about it all the time. There's this feeling you get in Green Hall, and there's this intimacy that's created between the performer and the patrons, and it's really symbiotic. The artists feel it too, and that's why they want to play here, because they get to be close to the audience. I mean, how many artists that are as big as these guys that play here now get to be that close to their audience? Not very often. And how, as a patron, do you get to be that close to a performer? Yeah. Not very often. Right. So that's what's really special about this place.
Picking bluebells and mountain columbine.
So I was watching you out on the dance floor. You're really impressive. Woo. How long have you been dancing?
Basically all my life. I grew up in a family of people that love to dance, and I just love it. Every heartache we have in life, and every challenge and every joy, we can bring it and dance it. And I'm careful about people. I'm very alert about where people are. And once in a while I grab some part of a person I didn't want to grab, but you just go, whoops, and you get your hands away.
People in the Texas Hill Country know how to have a good time. They like to have a cold beer, they like to get on the river and tube, they like to dance till their boots fall off.
You can count on a Hill Country Texan being honest and being fun to be around.
They respect the old ways, and they would like for everyone to see them and enjoy them. It's a very happy place to be.
It's like walking back in time, but now it's really changing. There's a new dynamic here with younger folks coming in and really making businesses and raising a family here.
And they're glad you're here because they're glad they are here.
Gone to the mountain.
John!
When you drink a cold beer after dancing with a gentleman, when being in the presence of flowers makes your heart and cowgirl boots skip, when you enjoy the craft work established by the area's first settlers, that is when we share a love of travel. And that's why Texas Hill Country is a place to love.
We're back.
And we're back. I froze there for a second. It was a pensive look, but that's a great ending to the show. And I think we love the endings when all of our voices come back and kind of tell us what makes a place special. And everyone, Carl, John, Mary Jane, everyone just they just nail it, what it is to be flying. In Texas Hill Country. And I mean, in Green Hall, right now
I want to go there.
Yeah, it's temporarily closed because of COVID, but the whole town, she basically runs the whole town. And there's an amazing restaurant there, and there's tons of outdoor seating. And the outdoor seating overlooks the river that everyone tubes around. It's a really special place. And what I love about Green Hall is its mission is to only show artists and original music. Their mission is to foster new talent and show, be a place for the next best thing. And Garth Brooks was sort of up and coming there. Lyle Lovett, Chris Isaak, Bo Diddley, Merle Haggard. Like, so many people have played there for just what she was saying, the energy of the crowd, a small, intimate setting where just you feed off of each other. But we really love that original music is played, mainly because we could then have people who we could actually work with and use the music in our show. But also just hearing live music, and the show's just about the effort of people. We want to give a big thanks to Michael, Giddy Productions. You see him right now. He was the director of this show. Usually Sylvia Kamener is our director, but he stepped up and he did a fantastic job. I think it's one of our best episodes. It really captures the soul of a place, and that is the goal, to capture the soul, not just as a travel destination of a place where you make sort of consumer engagements here and there, but you really get to be a part of a lifestyle that is unlike our own. And I love the family atmosphere. I love the immigrant story of the Germans coming. I think Texas was independent, but I guess again it's independence from Mexico, right? And New Braunfels has a whole history of like Germany, the prince actually wanting to buy.
Really?
I think, yeah, there's this whole thing like New Braunfels. There were so many Germans there that like a prince of Germany wanted to just create it and annex it for Germany. And I forget who said no. I don't know if it was. And then it became a part of America. But it was just like crazy, just a part of history that is always good to go back in. And we kind of just did a quick hit of the Pacific War Museum, but that's a really special place. I toured it, and I just thought, gosh, to do kind of what's happening now, but to look back at a really, dark time, I didn't think really fit in with the episode. However, that doesn't mean that it is not an outstanding museum, and it really tells this poignant story of the Pacific, of the Pacific theater of World War II. So if you get to Texas Hill Country, do spend time going to that great museum.
So like always, we do questions about our destination we just featured, and seems like a lot of people have been there before. A lot of people have been to Green Hall.
Is that right?
And seen all these awesome people. Our friend Duncan McPherson just asked a question. Why is it not coming up? That's weird. Having some technical issues tonight. I don't know what's going on here.
Technical. We need tech support.
That's not. Hold on. What just happened?
I'm very tech support.
His question was: you've had Texas strudel, and you've had European strudel. Which do you prefer?
Well, I mean, I gotta give it to the Austrians. I really do. I mean, they were. I think the best strudel I ever had. Oh, then I had strudel in Prague.
That was actually he said Prague. So
okay, the Prague episode. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give it to Prague. It was pretty. I don't know. There's something. I don't know. Being in Europe, having it, and but the Naeglin's was excellent as well. It was more sugary, and I think as an American we like more sugar. So that's the difference.
One thing to add on that. Sorry, my computer's not working very well. That if anyone ends up in Budapest, there's actually a strudel restaurant there, right near the big cathedral.
Oh, we were gonna do that.
Yeah.
That's right. But it was just too tiny. Yeah.
And they make it in front of you. I mean, it's like a big restaurant. It's not just a little like dessert place. It's like a food restaurant, but they just have someone nonstop making the same kind of size strudels as that, and it's they have like 10 different flavors.
In the end, I've never met a strudel I didn't like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Stephanie Cobb asked.
It was a column shift, even better. Crunch.
Manual.
Yeah, exactly. No, it wasn't an automatic, and it was great. I loved it. I loved driving it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, there was a lot of chatter about the truck. I mean, a lot of people in the comments.
The truck is great,
yeah.
and I'm not gonna. One day we'll do a post here up in the country. I have a truck. We have a pickup truck that I love, manual, which I love.
It's a Dodge.
It's a Dodge. I grew up I learned how to drive in the 80s, and so I love driving manual. I do. I prefer it. I even drove the truck into New York City, and I loved it because you're high above, and no one messes with the truck. Stick shift gets a little tough in traffic, but I managed. But I enjoyed being in that truck.
I think I had to parallel park that truck.
I think you did too.
In Brooklyn, which was
horrifying.
Pretty horrifying.
You needed one of those whips.
I've never trained for this. Thing's twice as long as a normal car.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And everyone's probably looking like, "What are you doing?" Like it takes a lot to stop New Yorkers in their tracks, and I probably think you did it.
Yeah. Because in New York, most trucks are commercial, and they just double park and they don't care.
They don't care. Yeah, exactly.
I
hope everyone enjoyed the show. It's just one of my favorites. Were you smiling? I was totally smiling because everyone's great, and it's just the conviviality. It's what we miss so much with travel, is just having these quick interactions with people in places that we're not from, and really seeing eye to eye and understanding each other and enjoying each other. Oh, I miss it terribly, and this episode for me really brought that back. Is David Dean in the house?
He is.
Awesome.
And he came in late. David, just since you're here now, we were talking about the fact you weren't here, and then Sam had some inside info that you had a awesome
nice dinner date
yeah.
with our director Sylvia Kaminer, as well as Joe McCord, my first executive producer from my Travel Channel days.
Old school.
I hope you had a good time. Yeah. But yeah, so that beauty of that episode and it happened a few times in that episode where we connected what people were saying with just me walking down the street. Definitely Evelyn from Autos talks about Main Street and just how it's sort of changing, and that's where I led into Pontotoc and just kind of like it just weaves, and so you don't know where one segment begins and one ends. They just all kind of meld together, and then all of a sudden it's the end of the show, and that's the whole point of it. And I feel like Texas Hill Country is where we realized where we wanted to be.
Yeah.
And I will say there were some episodes we didn't get there, and we knew it. And Texas Hill Country is like, we need to get back. Where what can we do to make sure that we have that just sort of beautiful, like you feel like you're on a great road trip through meeting great people along the way, and we just want to make sure you feel like this is about you and the way that people connect with you. It's not about me having these experiences. I love it, but it's in the general sense, it's about getting you out there, getting excited to do exactly what I did, feeling like you know these people. So when you see John Thomas, I'm walking around Wild Seed, John, say something in that awesome Texas accent.
I think, we say this a lot, but just to kind of reinforce it, that the John Thomas Wild Seed farm scene, when we heard about it, that there's a farm for wildflowers, and we're there to talk about wildflowers. Wow, that's awesome. But we kind of were a little trepidation because, well, is this farm open to the public? Because if it's just a farm and that's it, that's not as interesting, and we don't try to show those things. But then we heard it was like, oh no, this is like a destination. People go there.
We thought it was just like, this is too good to be true.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's these things that you find out when you go there, and there was a lot to do in this town, and I'm sorry, in Texas Hill Country, in those towns. That it was tough to scout. That's why I don't like scouting, because I want to do it all.
Speaking of scouting, someone asked where a great place to stay is. We mentioned the Hyatt Hill Country, which is right outside of Antonio.
Yeah.
San Antonio, sorry.
But Fredericksburg is a great place to stay because you're kind of at the epicenter of things, and there's everything from good like Hampton Inns, that sort of thing, to really nice local places, very high-end local places. I would say Fredericksburg can get fancy if you wanted a fancier place, but I'm definitely about just supporting local whenever you can. There's lots of inns. We stay at hotels just because we can't be like on a second floor of a Victorian house, not with our 22 cases of gear. So
bashing into the walls
and stuff, and maybe there's only 8 rooms, and we need to stay at a good chain hotel. Those are the best. That they put out breakfast at 6 a.m. where there are elevators, there are bell carts that we can use. Our crew likes to stay on the first floor, so there isn't this elevator situation. They can just roll in, roll out. So unfortunately, when it comes to like inns and B&Bs and that sort of super local, we just can't do that for logistical purposes.
William O'Rourke asked a great question. Why is it not? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
And David, yes, we did. We talked about the Hot Club of Cowtown. All of their music is throughout.
Didn't you do it in Austin years ago for Travel Channel? You did like some sort of water thing. Was it like a quarry or something? Maybe?
Yeah. It was. I forget what it's called. In Austin, it's the famous. It starts with a B. I forget.
Okay.
But it's like a big hole, big swimming hole. Okay. Yeah. And it's like 32 degrees water. It's really cold. Have you all tubed or floated? No, I know. Every time we were there, William, we didn't because we were there in April, and it still was too early for that.
I've seen some great, we spent a lot of time talking with the tourism boards. They were really, really helpful for both I think there's an overall one for Hill Country, but then there's a separate one for Fredericksburg and a separate one for New Braunfels. And I remember going through their websites and just seeing these pictures of just the tubing, and it's like,
oh my god,
I want to do that.
I know.
It's like forget work. This is all work stuff. Whatever. I want to go and get on a plane and go tubing there. That looks awesome.
Yeah, and then and isn't there like a really awesome water park in New Braunfels, Schlitterbahn or something like that.
Yeah,
There's a great
something.
tube. So that wasn't
Yeah.
open yet.
Yeah.
But when you go to New Braunfels, there's all these big tube places where the tubes are just stacked up. So clearly, it's a popular thing to do. We were just there in the off season.
You know, I don't know. You know, if you go to our website and go to the video, the Facebook page and go to the videos, all of these Facebook Lives are out there, you know, saved, so you can watch, you know, the older ones. But you know, if you look at the first ones where Sam was just holding her iPhone like this, doing that, and we've kind of evolved over time, and you know, with the equipment that we've kind of amassed for this, I don't know if this is a being nice, like, wow, you have such a great microphone that picked up the crickets, or like, your microphone's terrible, it shouldn't be picking up the crickets.
You hear the crickets in our home?
It's amazing, yeah. They're loud.
I guess you could hear it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm going to say, wow, what a
Quiet
great
on a
microphone.
set!
What a great microphone you have that you can hear the crickets. And crickets.
Nice.
There was, I don't know the chatter, but there was some back and forth about wine, and maybe the comment was about people didn't know Texas grew wine, and then someone said New York grows wine. Well, in 15 minutes on the Create Network is our Corning New York Southern Finger Lakes episode where we talk
Finger
about
Lakes grew a lot of great wine.
wine seed. So that's in 15 minutes on Create if you want to keep your Samantha Brown fix going. That's our Corning and the Southern Finger Lakes in New York, and that was
Dr. Constantine.
beautiful episode.
Yeah, fantastic wine.
Beautiful.
They do a great Riesling as well.
Yeah.
Long Island has wine. They grow wine.
That's true.
So there's a lot of good episodes. Same Swedish fish though.
That is a lifetime supply of Swedish fish. That was from, when did we get those?
That
Back in
celebrated-
April?
Yeah, that was for New Hampshire because we were.
No, that was for.
No.
That one was for
no.
New Hampshire. That big thing, right?
No, Cheddar's Swedish fish. Yeah, because I love.
Oh, and then they
Swedish
sent
fish.
that later.
Then
That's
they
what
sent
it
that
was.
later.
Got it.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Never goes down.
So so we thought we had a lot of that, and then in the mail comes a whole another big pounds of.
We've got a lot of candy. Yeah.
State was talking about other wine places. Virginia does wine. We would
does
love to do
wine.
a show in Virginia. We've talked about doing a show there, and actually our good friend Jose Andres had offered to take us to one of the wineries that he likes in
and
Virginia.
The cheese, everything that happens there, all the agriculture that's happening in Virginia.
Well, it was
incredible.
like a cool oyster thing. We had,
yeah, that's right.
You know, we have people talk, well, where are you going next? Like, well, we have had conversations with probably 40 different places about future shows. It's just, you know, trying to get there.
Schlitterbahn, yeah. Didn't I say that?
Something like that, sure.
Yeah, Schlitterbahn, yeah.
Yeah.
Schlitterbahn is the name of the famous water park there.
Yeah. No.
Yep.
Yes. All right.
You definitely hear the crickets.
Yeah. Well, we actually paid a lot of money for those crickets to really try to, you know.
That's so funny.
Oh, everyone's saying is Barton Springs. Is that
Barton
place?
Springs, thank you. Thank you. Hey, at least I knew it
We have
began
a lot
with
of,
a B.
you know, somebody
a lot of Texas.
just talking about Texas in general.
Texas in general is a huge
most-
audience. Yeah.
Our
for us.
best rated kind of town that watches it goes back and forth between Chicago and Dallas as far as sheer number of people that watch every week.
Yeah.
And it's huge. I mean, we've had times where I think it was like 2% of Chicago is watching our show.
That's phenomenal, isn't it?
On a given day.
Yeah.
A given spot.
I was seeing those numbers, and it's definitely,
you know,
I think people watch the show.
And then
because-
Dallas will be like similar kind of numbers. It's crazy. But on a percentage basis, Austin's by far our best. Like, you know, it's a smaller town, so it doesn't have the numbers.
That per capita.
But per capita and percentage-wise, Austin blows everyone out of the water. So we have a lot of fans in Austin.
We got to go back to Texas.
And Austin is an awesome place. I cannot wait to go there. I went to the Austin City Limits twice, and it changed my life.
Yeah, we wanted to do, like, our episode in Austin would be...
Will be,
definitely. This whole idea that, you know how, like, millennials think they've invented everything cool. Like if you're 22, you think you're... And so what we want to do is go to, like, everything, whether it was, like, the breakfast burrito or something like that, and just have the person... Because Austin has been, like, the epicenter of creativity for so long, and people have been doing great things in Austin, all these things that maybe the younger generation has started to take credit for, like people in their 60s and 70s like did that 40 years ago. So we wanted this like theme of being like, yeah, I did that. Yeah. And I forget what some of our great ideas for like, you know, music outdoors or whatever.
Yeah, there was like a hipster taco place.
Hipster
Well, it's like,
taco
turns
place.
out that place has been there forever.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's,
exactly. There's a woman who's been doing like the
Yeah.
tacos forever. Just yeah, exactly. Like whatever like the hipster thing is, like people like in their 60s, because I feel like as a people we need to give a lot more respect to people in their 60s and 70s for just being incredible, like just what they've done. And now there's this whole generation that thinks they're like the first people to do something, and
Yeah.
you're really not, you know.
Mhm.
So we wanted to prove that.
All right, so just pointing out that Lori Juntanen Anderson is going over to Create
Nice.
in 10 minutes to watch our Corning episode.
Excellent.
And actually, Cynthia Fenneman from Create was on, from American Public Television was on earlier to say how much she enjoys these.
right?
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
great.
the president, I think, of American Public Television.
Nice. Oh, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. We love that.
Yeah.
Road trip to Texas Hill Country. I need to get some boots, though. You definitely need. And I will say, you know, a good proper pair of.
Someone asked that.
Sam, did you buy your fabulous cowboy boots in Texas for the show, or did I already have them?
Where did you get them from?
Boy, that's a great question. Because I got them used somewhere. They're not
Texas?
a new pair.
How could you buy used cowboy boots somewhere not Texas?
No. I'm trying to think. I think they might have been in Texas.
Yeah.
And if you would just give me 2 seconds, because I'm pretty sure. Where did I get them? Oh my gosh, because I remember finding them and I love them. But yeah, they were expensive. A really great pair of cowboy boots is expensive, and I would say it is worth the investment because I mean, everyone loves when you wear it. People like, they treat you differently when you wear cowboy boots, definitely. And drive a truck. I'm treated differently when I drive my truck. My little red guy out there. All right?
Nice, yeah.
Yeah. Next week is Big Sur and Monterey, California. Big Sur, huge road trip destination, phenomenal scenery. My gosh, you can't believe you're in the United States. It's so beautiful. It's epic.
And our friend Duncan McPherson pointed out that in that episode we also did one.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Maybe that'll be a drink next week. Can we do one? Should I do some fancy cocktail for next week, or
should we do wine?
Because we have their wine.
We do still have their wine?
I don't know, do we?
See, accusatory again.
You walked right into that one.
I did. We should reach out to them because I love their wine. It was great.
Yeah.
Reach out to
I
them
think we
and
have
see if
it.
we can get a bottle of wine from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, is that good? We got
I think-
Dallas. Yes, and just so you know, I saw a lot of you. John Travolta. Yes, you're right. They did shoot a scene from Michael. Is that the movie?
Angel. No, it was Michael. Yeah, that's
Michael,
right.
because he was an angel. He was an angel, right? Yes, they did shoot that scene there. So, yep, that is it. All right, until next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will see you again where we will talk about Big Sur.
We have some fun kind of stories about, I mean, not fun, but some behind the scenes stuff about how we ended up doing that show. And yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
All right. I'm sure we do.
It's exciting.
This is great.
Yeah.
All right. Thank
Until
you,
then.
guys. Until then, have a good night.